Hi there, it's Reed from Blue Bear Quilts, and today I'm going to show you what's involved in taking a quilt to a long-arm quilter. So here I am at Quilt Love Longarm. This is a long-arm quilt shop, and it's located in Tampa, Florida. So let's go inside and see what's involved. Well, hello there.
Hi, Reed. How are you?
Great. So this is Anne. Anne and I go way back. In my magazine era, when I was doing lots of magazine quilts and quilted many of them. And so she's going to be quilting a quilt for me today. And so here we are as we've entered the shop. And what would this area be, Anne?
This would be the reception area where we will discuss and do a consultation on the quilts that you drop off.
And I see you have like some fabrics for backing.
We do carry wide backs. We have a limited selection of 44-inch, but mainly we concentrate on wide backs.
And then you also have a wall with some notions over here?
Yes. We do classes on art quilting as well. So we do have some art quilting supplies and your regular notions for quilting.
Okay. Well, let's see where the long arming takes place.
Come on in. This is the shop. We have batting on the roll, all the colors of thread, and we have 4 machines here. We have 2 machines that are hand-driven and 2 machines that are computerized.
So what is the difference? What does it mean when they're hand-driven?
So the hand-driven machines is where we do our custom work. So if you do show quilts or if you just want some custom work done on your quilt, these 2 machines over here will do that work. And then we have 2 computerized machines that will do edge-to-edge quilting.
So the ones that you described at first, would that be like doing free motion quilting with rulers?
Yes, yes, it will be free motion.
And then how does edge-to-edge work?
Edge-to-edge work, so over here I'll show you. So edge-to-edge is done by the computer. We load on the design that we picked during the consultation and load it, and then the sew head is on a track and the computer kind of does the design that we pick.
So when a quilter is bringing their quilt to you to do long arming on it, normally they're going to bring you the piece top.
Yes, so we need you to bring the piece top. We also need you to bring the backing fabric. And if you would like to bring your own batting, you can, but we do have it here. Or even the backing fabric, but we need the 3 pieces to complete the quilt.
So there are 3 layers to a quilt. There's the top.
There's a top, there's batting, and then there's backing fabric.
Okay. And you lay out each one of those in a certain order on this frame, correct?
Yes, we do. So when you bring us a quilt, you don't need to bring it all sandwiched together. We make the sandwich here on the quilt frame. The backing fabric gets loaded on those 2 bars, and then the top gets loaded on this bottom bar, and then as we roll it through, it gets the quilting done.
So what should a quilter do with their piece top before they bring it to you?
You're going to want to make sure it's pressed. You're going to want to make sure as much of the stray threads on the back and on the front are clipped. If you have a quilt that does not have a border, sometimes a victory lap is nice, where you're just stitching kind of 1/8 of an inch from the edge, so those seams do not open up on you. But other than that, we do the rest.
Okay. And what about the backing when they're preparing the backing to bring it to you? Are there any considerations with that?
Yes. So if you purchase wide back fabric, you may want to press it. If you don't have the space to do that at home, we can do that here. But usually, unless it's a dark color like black or red, you don't need to wash it, but some colors you may want to consider washing the backing fabric.
If you have to piece the backing fabric, like you don't have wide back, are there any considerations with that?
Yes, the seams. So on pieced, We do prefer that the seams lay horizontally, but they don't have to. It just loads better on the machine if you have the horizontal seams, but sometimes we understand that it does not always, the math doesn't work out for that. So if you have a vertical seam, we can still quilt your quilt for you as well.
Can you kind of demonstrate on this quilt, like if you had a vertical seam, like what happens and why the horizontal is more preferable? Like, does it create a big bump in the middle?
It does, and I can show you on this quilt. This one has a vertical seam. So it kind of builds up a little bit of bulk on the seam as the seam rolls onto itself.
Okay.
But if you have a horizontal seam, it doesn't roll on itself, so it doesn't create any bulk.
So the horizontal, the seam is going to be more even.
Yes, and less bumpy for you when you get it back.
Right. And that will result in a better quilted
flatter quilt.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. And then what considerations are involved in the batting? Like if the customer brings their own batting, or you said you have some batting that they could buy here?
So for batting, we need at least 3 inches all the way around the quilt. So you want your batting to be larger than your quilt top. Same with your backing fabric. Your backing fabric needs to be 4 inches all the way around as well. But for batting, as long as it's bigger than your quilt top, we can use whatever you bring. But you may find buying it off the roll to be more economical. So we do try to recommend that, but you can bring whatever your preferred batting is.
And what type of battings do you prefer to work with, and what type do you offer here in the store?
We offer Hobbs 100% cotton. We offer 80/20, which is a cotton poly blend. We also offer a very thin Quilter's Dream that here in Florida we really enjoy because it's we don't need a heavy quilt down here. And then we do special order Quilter's Dream in a lot of different varieties, different blends, bamboo, wool. Wool is always fun to use. It's a nice natural fiber that gives a lot of warmth but isn't too warm, which of course is a consideration here in Florida.
And wool also makes some of the, if you're doing like the free motion quilting, will make some of the designs stand out more.
Yes, if you're doing free motion quilting, especially for a show, you do want to have some of that texture because it really does make those designs pop. And even some of the edge-to-edge designs, the wool is really nice to have that texture and to really see your designs that you're putting on your quilt.
Is there any particular batting that's better if the quilt is going to be washed?
If you have a quilt that's going to be washed a lot, like say for children, I love 80/20. 80/20 washes really well, and it just has a good life for that quilt that's going to be on the couch or for children.
So how do you determine what sort of a design you're going to put on a quilt? So like if we look at this one, like what were some of your design considerations for the actual quilting design?
A lot of times I will look at the fabrics that are in the quilt. This one had a nice weave in the border, so I wanted to kind of play off of that without it being exact. And then sometimes it's a preference of the customer. They want a novelty or they want it very simply. So I try to work with the customer as much as possible on that too.
Do you use more angular shapes when some of the piecing is curved, and maybe more curved piecing? I'm sorry, curved quilting when there's a lot of straight edges on the quilt?
Sometimes during the consultation with the customer, you know, I try to get a feel of what they are looking for, and what we're looking for a lot of times is a cohesive project, right? Like for this project particularly, I used the black thread on the background because we really wanted the star on this quilt to be the showcase of the quilt and not the quilting. So we wanted it to fade into the background. So we did that with design and with color. If we wanted the quilting to pop more, if you had a lot of negative space in your quilt, I probably would have picked a thread that you could see better. But because we didn't want that, we did use a thread that blended.
Do you also look at like the overall design of the quilt? If it's more modern, you use a more modern quilting design?
Absolutely, because we want a more cohesive package. So if you have a lot of modern fabrics, a lot of modern piecing, if it has a border, doesn't have a border, we are looking to keep that a cohesive look. If your fabrics have a lot of floral designs look good, or leaves, sometimes just a more natural shape looks really nice on a floral quilt. In quilts for men, we tend to do more angular and contemporary styles for that.
So this particular quilt that you have out on the frame here has a variety of different colors. There's kind of a brown weave, a white, a gray, a black. So how do you decide what sort of thread color to use on a quilt like this?
So for this one, we did choose the black to blend in the background because we wanted the star to pop. But for this quilt over here, we are choosing a color that matches this yellow, so it's like that goldenrod color, because we wanted it to show up a little bit more on the green, because it's this quilt is getting a nice leaf pattern, so we did want to be able to see it a lot more on this quilt.
Can you think of any other considerations that a quilter should know about when they're bringing their quilt to the Longarmer, or what I like to say, quilting by credit card?
There's not a lot of considerations, but mainly just bring your questions. If you are unsure about things, you can always call ahead. And, we're just happy to help you, get to your vision, what you envision your quilt to look like. And a lot of times, we'll ask you too, like, how are you using your quilts? Because sometimes that takes, that is an important question that we overlook. So think about how you're going to use your quilt, and that sometimes will determine your services that you get here as well.
Are you able to show your customer, like on the computer screen, what their design will look like on the quilt?
Sometimes, yes. Yep. For the computerized quilting, that's a lot easier. For free motion quilting, sometimes we'll just draw it out for the customer so they can get a better idea of what it will look like.
Great. Well, this has really been very knowledgeable, and I've learned a lot today about like what's involved in bringing a quilt to a Longarm quilter. How would people get a hold of you if they were interested in your services?
All our contact information is on our website at quiltlovelongarm.com. You can call, you can message us through the website as well if you prefer text. And we have all our socials as well.
Well, thanks so much, Anne.
You're welcome.
I've really enjoyed chatting with you about what's involved in bringing a quilt to a Longarm, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds great.
Bye-bye.
Bye.